Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back, Championship Leadership Podcast, and we got my man Daniel Blue coming back. He is a prior guest in the early days of Championship Leadership, but we got him back. He's got a book called Blueprint to Your Best Retirement: How to Access Your Retirement Account Penalty and Tax Free, which everybody wants to do that. So especially maybe even more so nowadays than in the previous few years. But how you doing, my man? Thanks for being here.
Coach Nate, I'm doing great, bro. Appreciate the invite and looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we don't talk all the time, but definitely follow what you've been doing, and saw you had the book and reached out and said, hey, let's have you come on the show. So appreciate you coming back. But talk to us a little bit. Well, actually, why don't we do this? Why don't you tell the listeners first, like who you are and kind of a little bit more about what you do with Quest Education, and then we can kind of dive into this book too a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm at Las Vegas, got a company where we've got customers in all 50 states, probably got over 1,000 customers now, where like you mentioned, we help people access money in their retirement accounts, penalty and tax free. And the tool that we use to make all this happen is what's called a solo 401k. And I talk a lot about that in my book, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement. And I love what we do, man. We get to solve a big problem in the marketplace. A lot of people, especially these days, they're not a big fan of the stock market. They're concerned with the political climate, the kind of current conditions that we're in. And a lot of people are having those light bulb moments where they're like, well, shoot, like you're telling me I can access my IRA, my 401k penalty and tax free. Like, number one, how come my financial advisor didn't tell me this? And number two, now that I know this information, I'd love to use this money to start my business or invest into crypto or invest into real estate. So, really pulling back the curtain and helping people understand a lot of financial strategies that their CPAs and financial advisors are not telling people. That's our bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah. What's, and this primarily for business owners and entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, so the solo 401k is specifically for someone that is an entrepreneur but doesn't have a W-2 employee, full-time employee associated with the business. So, someone that's got maybe a consulting business with, VA, 1099 contractors, that solopreneur, that real estate agent that's 1099 income, if that's you, there's a really good chance you qualify for the solo 401k, where if you've got an IRA or a 401k from an old job, you can't access that money penalty and tax free where it is. However, you can take those dollars, convert it into a solo 401k, and then access that money penalty and tax free.
Which is huge as well, because a lot of people fall into that category, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, especially, we were just talking kind of offline, like all the craziness going on with, 2020 and the pandemic. A lot of people, I think, got sick and tired of working for other people, and, got the internet and all these different cool opportunities for people to start their own businesses. And I was reading an article the other day. I think more people started businesses last year than a long time, right? And I think the trend this year is a lot of the same. People are just quitting their jobs and doing their own thing.
Yeah, quitting their jobs, getting laid off, you name it. It's been interesting. I know my wife was laid off, and she has another job, and it's actually worked out for the best in the end. But yeah, we went through that ourselves personally. So what happens if if you have a solo 401k, you kind of qualify for that. You don't need W-2 employees, but they grow and they scale and they start to bring on some employees. What happens then with the solo 401k?
Yeah, then at that point, essentially the term solo is removed from the equation. Now it's just a good old fashioned 401k. And now you have to have the conversation with your employees, offering them the same thing that you have, so basically the government's going to say, hey, Mr. Business Owner, whatever you do with your 401k, you have to offer it to your employees. Now, whether they take it up or not, that's on them, but you at least have to offer it to them. And then, the conversation of, matching the contributions and investing, and that's a whole different topic and a different beast in itself, but you're going to have those kinds of conversations.
And would you have to, sorry, these are just questions coming to my mind here, but would they have to at that time, what if they're just not in that position to offer it to everyone else? Is it what would be the other option, to close it down and move it to something else?
Yeah, I mean, it basically when you have an employer sponsored plan and you have W-2 employees, like you have to offer it to them.
Okay.
So at that point, or you got a couple different options. You've got the obvious where you just get rid of the plan altogether, right? Or you look at 1099 versus W-2 and things of that nature.
Okay. Well, why don't you talk a little bit about how you got how you started Quest Education, for those that maybe listened to the first episode, but it has been a while and kind of forgot, or that just are coming across you for the first time. How did Quest Education become a thing, and then I think we can roll that into how the book came about.
Yeah, so I took a completely different path. When you think about people that own a financial company, you think of people that went to college and got a degree in economics or business, whatever the case may be, and work for a stockbroker and things of that nature. And that's not me. So I love the path that I took. It's completely different. For me, it just started when I was 18 years old. When I was 18 years old, I ended up getting addicted to Oxycontin, had a kid, and actually got a woman pregnant at 18, had the baby at 19, and I dropped out of college. So I was really lost at that point in time. Society told me to go to school, go to college, but I had no agenda. I had no purpose. I had no plan. And I just stumbled into sales, man. And sales was something that naturally I was able to make good money in. I had no idea that I had this knack for being able to communicate with people. I did phone sales. I sold real estate coaching over the phone, did that for a number of years. And because I got exposed to the real estate industry, I was exposed to the self-directed retirement account world, where I was talking to people and hearing these conversations where people were saying they use their 401k and IRA to invest into real estate. They use their retirement account to flip a house. And I'm thinking, wow, this is pretty cool. Like I thought a retirement account was to buy a mutual fund, to buy
Yeah, right.
Tesla. I didn't think you could use it for real estate. So that got my wheels turning. And I was thinking, man, it'd be pretty cool to be in that space. But I just kept my head down. I just kept working. I was just a 1099 contractor, just an employee for a number of years. And luckily, I made enough mistakes early in my early years. I like to say I just touched the hot stove, and I kept burning myself.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that was going to teach me some business principles down the road, because when I'm 18, 19, 20 years old, Nate, like I remember I was 18 years old, I made 96,000 my first year. And then I made six figures every year after that. However, I didn't believe in credit. I was thinking, man, I have cash. Like, why do I need a credit card? So I never paid attention to my credit. I wasn't smart with write-offs and deductions and tax strategies and opening up LLCs. So I was terrible with my tax game. I spent more than I made. So I was making really all these bad decisions. I bought a property in 2008 at the height of the real estate crash.
Yeah.
Ended up losing that house, right? So I'm making all these mistakes when I'm 18, 19, 20. But after touching the stove enough times and just burning myself, right when I turned like 22, 23, 24, I start making a lot of changes. My habits changed. I'm spending way less than I'm making. I'm saving. I'm investing. I have an LLC. I'm writing things off. My credit score is dope. And I start putting myself in a way better position financially. And after working in the coaching space for a while, I'm like, man, I want something new. Like I love retirement accounts, and I love, kind of the investment world, and self-directed retirement accounts really intrigued me. So I made the switch, and people can probably relate to this, where you quit a job that paid you more to work for a different company, or you take on a different job and you make way less. I actually made 50% less my first year, 2 years, but I knew that going in because I saw the big picture. That I was playing the long game, and ended up working in the self-directed retirement account space for a few years. And then 3 years ago, I'm like, dude, I'm doing this for other people. I'm doing this, as an employee. Now I've got some chips on the table. I've got really good credit score. I've got some savings. I've got some investments. Like, let me go all in. So I ended up maxing a bunch of my credit cards at 0%, put a lot of money out of my savings, had that conversation with my wife. I'm like, hey, we're going all in on this business. It's going to look scary. It's going to be rocky. Our credit's going to take a shit. We're not going to have money in savings, but we're going all in on this business. And I can't promise it's going to work, but like, I'm going to work my ass off, and we're going to do our best to make this work. And 3 years later, we're still married and still in business. So I guess those are two good things.
That's a good sign for sure. How did that conversation go? I know you made it sound like you're like, hey, we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be fine. But how did that go? Is your wife pretty supportive, understanding?
I,
I would imagine there's got to be a little bit of uncertainty in there?
Yeah,
No?
yeah. I mean, there's definitely uncertainty because she's the kind of person that likes to have money in savings and sit there. And I'm like, yo, let's get this money out and deployed and making money. Like, what are we doing here? Right. So like we have different perspectives, which I love because when you're married, you're a
Good
team,
thing, right?
right? And
And
yeah, you got to
yeah,
have different
yeah,
skill sets.
yeah,
She was an extra trooper, man, because she used some of her 0% credit cards too, and helped out in that respect. And then she did payroll. She did our books, QuickBooks, for a number of years, and she didn't understand QuickBooks and payroll. Like she learned everything and worked the game for a number of years, and she hated it. Like I totally get that because she didn't
yeah,
ask for that, but
right.
so she actually doesn't work for me anymore. She fired herself. She told her boss that get
Yeah,
lost, and now she's
yeah,
spreading her wings and doing her own thing. So for couples that work together, kudos, like respect, like
no
that's
doubt.
not easy. So a lot of respect for people that work together in business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know that I would be able to pull it off, but like you say, there's, I think, a select few that are able to really
Yeah,
do it and do it well. So
yeah.
good for them, for sure. What so yeah, where's the book come into play? Like what was the idea behind that? And how are you leveraging that with what you're doing with your clients?
Yeah, so we've been able to get this business to the point where it is today. A lot of it is referral partners, and I think any business out there, if you can set yourself up in a position where you operate in an ecosystem where you can get, referral partners that, for us, it's people in the tax space, real estate space, business funding space, where, there's a value proposition, right, where we can add a service to their clients that really benefit them, and everyone wins, right? So referrals has been really key for us over the years. But there got to a point where I'm like, man, like, and this is probably 2018. I'm like, man, like, this is 2018. I don't have really a social media presence. We're not getting leads online. Like, we're relying on referrals. Like, that's scary. We need to branch out. And that's when I joined a mastermind that I know you and some of the listeners are probably familiar with. It's called Apex by Ryan Stewman. And I gravitated towards that group because it was a lot of the things that I lacked. At that point, I had no social media, I had no press, I had no book, I had no podcast, I wasn't speaking on stage. Like, I had no attention. We had a great service, but no one knew who we were, right? So, that's where the benefits of masterminds come in, and really aligning yourself with a group or content that you need help with. And for me, it was branding, it was online marketing, it was copy, things of that nature. So writing the book was something that was really essentially part of the program that we joined, right? It was, hey, business is being done online every single day, so you've got to
Yep.
post consistently on social media. You've got to position yourself as an authority in the marketplace. Write a book, start a podcast, speak on stage. Just get your content out there, do videos. And I remember when I first joined the mastermind a few years ago, like, I was so scared to get on camera. The thought of speaking on stage frightened me. Doing a podcast like this scared me, right? And here I am now. I've got my own podcast, and you already know, Nate, anytime you come to Vegas, bro, we got to get you in the studio and get you on How Winners Win. That's been a lot of fun
Absolutely,
doing that
bro.
podcast. Yeah, man, that's been we love doing the sessions in-house, man. We got a studio here, and we get it produced, and it's just a lot of fun. But I've been on over 100 podcasts, writing the book, getting on stage. Like, that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't invest into masterminds. And the kind of where I'm going with all this is, it's not comfortable, right? Like, you're not going to be comfortable doing all this because it's so outside of your norm, especially when you do it all at once. I talked to a lot of people that are afraid of social media. Like, what am I going to post? Like, what are people going to think of me? And just being real with the audience, I don't like social media.
Yeah.
If I did not own a business, I wouldn't be on social media. If I did not own a business, I wouldn't have wrote this book. If I wasn't an entrepreneur, I wouldn't be trying to speak on stage. But how bad do you want it in business? How bad do you want to win?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I would. Yeah, I can relate to a lot of that. I'm kind of the same way. Even now, social media is a struggle for me. Many days to get in and to post and to stay active there, like you say. And when you get a business, it's kind of one of those things where you have to do it. And I remember I've written a few books now, and that first one was the hardest, right? A lot of stuff kind of going on up in the head of like, man, who am I to think I can write a book or should write a book, or who's going to read it, all that stuff. And you just kind of fight through that. The more you do, like you say, you do the podcast, the more you put yourself out there, really, the easier It is, you know, and even if it helps one person, right, it's worth it. That's what I've always told myself. And of course, it's going to go out and it's going to help more than one person. But what what about you know, we were talking right before we hit record, and you know, especially for the entrepreneurs and business owners who I think this is the majority of the listeners coming into this podcast here are, they fit that category. Talking about the pandemic, because we really hadn't spoken since the pandemic has come, and the challenges of it. And you see a number of people talking about how they killed it in the pandemic, which is awesome and amazing for them. And then, you know, there's many others that did not kill it. And but you know, you talk about championship leadership, which is the name of the podcast. And championship leadership isn't, it's easy to be a leader and when it's going good, and when things are easy. Championship leaders really rise and show what they're made of and what they're all about in these times like the pandemic, when things aren't going right at all. Like, you really see, like, everything's stripped away, and you really see who people are in those moments and in those times, and how they navigate and how they come through it and how they get through it and how they come out the other side. So maybe talk a little bit about you and you know, how you navigated the last, I don't know, whatever called 18 months or whatever it's been, to get through this. And then also to kind of, you know, the book comes out as in the last few months, and because I know it wasn't easy for you, and just like it wasn't easy for many of us.
Yeah, I started the book in July 2019.
Okay.
And I barely got that book done, like what, 60
Yeah.
days ago. You
Yeah.
know, like it took me actually doing 75 hard this year
Yeah.
to like get my ass in line and finish my book. So if you haven't done 75 hard, I highly recommend it. If you don't know what it is, Google it. And it's not easy, but it's worth it. I can say that. So, you know, we were talking offline, and you know, last year my P&L, like, it's not sexy. Like, I lost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But that's life, man. Like, that's business. One of there's someone I really look up to in business, and he's not on social media. He's not in masterminds. Like, it's easy to remember. It's easy to forget that, like, there's a lot of players that aren't on social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of high level people that are not on social media. So I think we forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking to him the other last year, and I was kind of venting to him. I was like, bro, like, this is so much I'm gonna lose my P&L. Like, I was kind of venting, and he's like, dude, don't be a bitch. He's like, my first year, he's like, I lost like 200 grand. He's like, the second year, I lost $100,000. The third year, I broke even. He's like, year 4, guess what fucking happened? He's like, I made money. Yep. And that really resonated with me. Not so much because that's how much money I lost year 1 or year 2, but like, that's freaking business. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. Business is like you're actually, it's, you know, people talk about your business is your baby, and it's true, right? Like, in the very beginning, your business really can't function without you. Like, you have to freaking coddle your baby, and it's not self-sufficient. But then, like, once the business is 6 months, a year old, starts opening its eyes like a baby, maybe kind of like drunk walks, like, it's starting to be a little bit more self-sustainable. And then year 2, it's like a toddler, right? And start saying words. And that's how business is, man. Like, if you're not doing well right now, it's really only a couple of different reasons why you're not doing well. It's one, you're doing the right thing, you just haven't done it long enough. And that's where I was at last year. You know, I was only 2 years in the business, and you know, so there was that. The second reason why you're not doing well is you're just doing the wrong shit. And last year, there were some things I was doing that were not good tactically. So it made me have to readjust my strategy. The third reason why you're not doing well right now is you're lying to yourself. You're not putting in the work. And there's times last year where I let myself get in a funk, and I wasn't putting in the work as much as I know I could have. You know, where I remember last year, Nate, was like, this must have been like April, when we were probably 2 weeks into the shutdown here in Las Vegas. Yeah. And I feel like my whole life was taken from me. Like, I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go to the grocery store without seeing, you know, sparse meat and no toilet paper. It was like, dude, I was living like in a twilight zone. Right. And I couldn't get my hair cut. Like, I looked like a bum, bro. Yeah. And I was just in a funk, man. Like, you take away the gym from me, and I lost my identity. And I could have done things, it's an excuse. I could have ran, I could have done pull-ups,
right.
like I could have done that, but I didn't, man. And so I always like to just kind of remember, like, there's only 3 reasons why you're not killing it. Either you're lying to yourself, you're not putting in the work, you are doing the right thing, you just haven't done it long enough. Or 3, you're just putting in the work, but tactically you're doing things incorrectly. So, if you're struggling right now, just remember it's only one of those 3 things, and we try to overcomplicate things as human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Those 3 things. That's powerful. What's and the other, when you say, tactically you're just off, right? What if things, depending on the environment, depending on the market, sometimes you can be doing things not so well, but things are going so good that it works anyways, or that you might be getting some results and feeling like you're crushing it, and then you don't really find out and until something hits, like the pandemic, when the shit hits the fan, right? And then you're like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? And then if you're not, if you if you're not willing to take some ownership and maybe look yourself in the mirror and be like, well, maybe something I'm doing here isn't what I need to be or should be doing tactically, like you said. There's a lot of people that aren't willing to do that, right? And for you, obviously you were able to see that, and as hard of a pill as it is to swallow, maybe for some, you swallow it and you figure it out, and you get back on the right path, right?
Yeah, and I think there's a couple indicators. One, like, how much money do you have in your bank account? And I'm not saying that in a facetious way or anything like
Yeah,
that. Like, that's an indicator, right, of how well you're doing. And you can have every excuse in the book why it's this number and not that number, but ultimately it's that number. And you have, like you said, you have to own up to it. So, you got to be real with yourself, but then also you have to surround yourself with the kind of people that think differently than you. And that was one mistake that I made in the early stages of building this business, is hiring people that were similar to me, right? Like, when you first start hiring people, are you just like, oh, you think like me, you act like me, you sell like me, like, let's roll, let's work together, right? But if
yeah,
you get people in the room and they just have the same perspective and thought process as you, then there's not going to be thoughtful disagreement. One of my favorite books is Ray Dalio, Principles. Ray Dalio owns like one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, and he talks about the term thoughtful disagreement, and I love that term. And I try to have that term be within our organization, where, like this morning, today's Monday. On Monday, we have our leadership call, and we have our leaders from the different departments, and we get together, and we don't always agree on things. We
right.
actually debate and like argue sometimes, not like personally, pointing the finger and being rude, but like, you have to be able to have those kind of tough conversations, because, to your point, like, when things are going good, that's cool, ride that wave as long as you can. But
Yep,
then you have to have devil's advocate. Like, what are the risks? What could
right.
go wrong? Like, how can we keep this process happening? How can we keep this momentum moving? And, sometimes you don't want to be told that you're wrong or your strategy is wrong. And that's not always easy, but like, you have to be able to hear perspectives from different people. And, I'm trying to surround myself with people that are smarter than me. So then that way, I'm not the smartest one in the room, and people aren't just agreeing with me just to agree with me because I own the company. Like, if you don't feel like what we're doing is incorrect and wrong, like, let's hear it, and let's make the tweaks if it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What's the vision for you guys? Where are you headed? Coming out, and like you say, you having a down year last year, and adjusting and making some adjustments and some corrections in the business and restructuring a few things. What's the vision for you moving forward? Maybe even over these next 5 years, like, what's the impact and the vision that you have for Quest Education, where you guys are headed?
Yeah, so I mean, like, right now we've got just over 1,000 customers in all 50 states. Like, I want to get this to a point where we've got 2,000, 5,000,
Mhm.
customers, because that's a lot of people that we can really change their lives, their legacies, their families. And even if people don't become customers, being able to impact people in different ways, whether it's the book, whether it's the course, and being able to help people change their perspective, where there's just so many people out there that think an IRA or 401k is only for the stock market, and they can't touch that money until they retire. And obviously we know that's not true, and they're not being told that because that's not how Wall Street makes money. They make money when you buy stocks. They don't make money when you use your retirement account to fund your business or pay off your high interest rate credit card debt, or when you buy Bitcoin. They don't make money off of that. So why would they teach you that? So really just being able to spearhead this and bring this information to the forefront, that's what we're really ambitious about right now.
Yeah, what would you say is the percentage of people when you're in front of a group of people that would qualify for the solo 401k, and how many people are actually uneducated about what's available out there for them?
I mean, I would say most people don't even know that they could use their retirement account to invest into real estate, or they can pull it out penalty and tax free and use it to fund their business, or pay off high interest rate credit card debt. So I want to say like 5% of people in America actually have a self-directed retirement account, right? Like, so that's super, super minuscule. I don't know the data as far as like how many people actually are aware, of this. I just know, when I'm in a room or when we're talking to people, most of the time it's like, wait, what? I didn't know I could do this. Like, that sounds like a scam.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
no, man,
It's
this
so
is
good. So good that it can't be true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is amazing to me. But whenever I find out about something like this, my man, I'll give him a little plug. Michael Lush has a company called Replace Your Mortgage, where you can, use a first lien HELOC and pay your mortgage off in 5 to 7 years. And just the fact that that it's not common knowledge to people, even though it's the most amazing concept in the world, and it's not for everyone. Financially, you need to be in a place where it would make sense to use that strategy. But it's just a no-brainer when you really understand the concept and you hear about it. And yet so many people will still just be like, if it was true, more people would be using it, right? And I just think to the same thing for you. And it's like, when people hear this, they still don't take action. And it's like, as a coach, I run into the same thing. You're talking with clients and you're trying to help them to get unstuck from where they are to where they want to go, which takes some education. It takes trying to paint a different picture to show them, that they should move on this action. And yet it's not easy to get people to move. And those obviously that are able to get people to move the fastest and quickest are the ones that usually win absolutely in business. So what's the challenge there for you? Is that a big challenge in what you guys do?
Yeah, for sure. It's just a numbers game, like people, that are overweight and that are unhealthy. They know they need to eat better. They know they need to get in the gym. Like they need to, they know it, but do they want to? How bad do they want it? Right. Like it's the same thing with personal development. It's the same thing with finance. So, it's just a numbers game, right? Like that's why you have to try and get in front of as many people as you can and catch people at the right time, right? Like sometimes people are just at a different place in their life and different perspective, and they're more apt to make a change. And, ultimately it's tough accepting that you can't help everyone as much as you want to help, right? You just can't help everyone because not everyone is ready to make a change.
Yeah, absolutely. What's as we start to wrap this up, what is if there's one or two things that you could give to the listeners here today, and they were to actually take action like we've been talking and implement this right away, it would help move their life forward today, what would that be?
I would definitely make sure that you're putting money in a Roth IRA or a Roth solo 401k. That's money you pay taxes on, but the money grows tax free. So think of it as, you're paying taxes on the seed, but you're not paying taxes on the harvest. And right now we're living in a kind of crazy time. I think where no matter whether you're Republican or Democratic, I think we all can agree that there's going to be an increase in tax, right? There's just no way the government can keep printing out money like they have been over the last year or two and not increase tax, 5 years, 10 years from now. Like we're just going to be living in a different time where taxes are going to be higher. So I'd rather pay taxes now one time on the seed and then let the harvest grow tax free. And, you could have a Roth IRA or a Roth solo 401k, and, tax free money is definitely appealing to everybody.
And is it the same concept with the Roth IRA to where that doesn't just have to be in a mutual fund. It can be invested in the real
Yeah.
estate. Whatever it is.
Yeah. So you could have a self-directed Roth IRA with a company like ours and invest into alternative assets, or you can have a Roth IRA with Fidelity or TD Ameritrade and buy mutual funds or stocks.
Okay. Yeah, that's huge, folks. The Roth IRA, like you say, timing, you know, they're talking about, President Biden's talking about hiking those taxes up significantly. And then we'll continue to print money and talking about passing $4 trillion deals. And it's just like, where else are they going to get the money to actually to fund all of that? And it's going to be us. Like,
oh yeah, your kids,
yep,
my daughter,
kids,
you know, like,
yeah,
everyone's kids listening right now. So God bless them.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great advice. And like we've been talking about, don't just sit here and listen to this. And like, you truly are getting some gold that is absolutely worth thousands of dollars that you just got for free. And unfortunately, when people get things for free, they kind of discredit and discount it. And I would urge you guys to not, and to take advantage of it and to take action on it. And to reach out to Daniel and get educated. That's what his company is there to do, is to educate you and help you to get yourself in a better position financially, because we all could be, you know, you can never be in a perfect place financially. Like there's always room to grow in that area for sure. And it's important, probably now more than ever, for all the reasons we've been talking about. So what are a few ways that, you know, we talked about social media and everything. What are a few ways everybody can follow you and get to more information on Quest Education and the book?
Yeah, best place would be DanielBlue.me. It's my main website. It's got links to my podcast, How Winners Win. On my podcast, I talk about different ways to help people win in their financial life, their business life, personal life. So definitely been having fun there and dropping episodes every week. So you can catch some episodes there. And then my book is on my website as well. You can check it out on Amazon. And then I've got a course on my website, and then a bunch of free content. And then if you've got a 401k from an old job or an IRA, and I got your wheels turning, you're thinking, oh shoot, I could use this money in a penalty and tax-free manner, and I can access the money now instead of later. I want to learn more. There's a link to Quest Education's website on my website, and then you can just fill out a basic form, and then someone from my team will reach out to you and see how we can help. And then on my website, DanielBlue.me, it's blue just like the color. It's got links to all my social media as well. I'm pretty active on Facebook and Instagram, so feel free to shoot me a DM, and we'll do my best to help out.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, and we'll get that all linked up for you guys so that it's easy as clicking the button and getting directly to his site so that you can check all of that out. Appreciate you being here, man. Thank you so much. It's been good to connect and catch up.
Hey, likewise, Coach Nate. Good talking to you, brother.